Well, it's been a while since we've had a Harold Homestead episode, and I thought I'd give you kind of a quick tour of what we've been working on this spring and summer. And let me just start out by saying God is good, and we trust Him, and we've had some awesome momentum this spring and now the summertime over our farm, but it's also been quite a few challenges. We've had the worst predator challenge this spring and summer that we've ever had. Raccoons galore. They've already killed some of our quail, and found a big mature raccoon in one of the chicken runs the other night, and had a whole chicken in its mouth. It's a big raccoon. And so we've lost a handful of chickens. So it's not all romance and sunflowers and roses and good stuff. Sometimes it's a lot of challenges, but there's a ton of good stuff, that's for sure. But let me show you kind of some of the things we're working on. And first thing, here's the turkeys. These are our 8 broad-breasted white turkeys, which a lot of them will be butchered probably later this year. Might try to keep a rooster and a hen. And that's our big Tom Royal Palm. He's big. He's getting bigger and bigger. His beard right there on his chest is getting longer. But these broad-breasted turkeys, they're actually pretty tame. I can pet them just fine. But they're getting watered. It's pretty hot out here today. And right next to them is the aviary for the pheasant. So let me show you them. This is the pheasant aviary, and right next to it is the formerly known duck run. There used to be a house here. I just took a chainsaw and released it and then drug it out to the pond with the tractor, because the ducks who are currently in here, some of them are going to another farm, but then some of them are staying here and they're moving out to the pond. So let me show you. This is going to become the quail aviary. So most of this is going to be ripped out, removed, because quail don't need rocks. But here's the, they're going to move on me. There's the rooster and the hen. It's just incredible how she just blends in. What we had showed a photo of her brooding, and she brooded on 7 eggs, and inside this little hutch. This takes 23 to 25 days, somewhere around there. So basically almost 3.5 weeks. And it was about time for there to be chicks, so I checked, and 5 of the 7 eggs had hatched, and we couldn't find the chicks anywhere. They were gone. 2 of the eggs, I think, were not fertile, but the other 5, they hatched, which is a pretty good hatch rate. So we're not sure if the male pheasant or even the female pheasant ate them. I've done some research, and Chinese ring pheasant can be notoriously cannibalistic, or they're so small they can fit right through the chicken wire. It's from some other feedback I've got. So they could have gotten out into the wilderness and eaten by raccoons or even our cats. So fortunately, she's laid about at least 5 more eggs there in the corner. I know you can't see them, but I'm just pointing where they are. And if she doesn't start brooding them, we're going to take them out and put them in the incubator. So let me go show you one of the pheasant chicks and some other chicks that we hatched this spring on the farm. Here are there's a crossbreed chicken, which probably wants to bite my finger, which is probably like I'll be honest with you, I didn't know what it's crossed. It's probably 3 or 4 different breeds, but this is a silky. Getting ready to possibly sell this one. But they were bred and hatched here on the farm. And this is our first pheasant. First pheasant to breed and then hatch here on our farm. Pretty cool, since we just started back in April, but they're beautiful So I won't know if it's a male or female just yet. It's going to take some time. Basically what that means is just the feathers start to change if it's a male. So then these are a different breed of turkey. They're actually Royal Palm. Found out a neighbor only a couple miles away was selling some poults. And so they're currently in a cage to get bigger and bigger until we can put them with the other turkeys. But we're hoping that these are hens so that they can actually breed with our Royal Palm tom turkey. So moving on. So we actually had gotten out of a lot of rabbit breeding, but then decided to kind of jump back in. So connected with a couple people that we had sold rabbits to from our original breeding pools, and we got some rabbits. So let me show you those. These have not been named yet, but here's a black female, another black female. These are New Zealand's. This is a brown male. Here's a gray one. I believe this is another male. And our main buck brownie, he just passed away. He was about 3.5 years old and died naturally. So we have some replacements. We haven't named this. We got a lot of no names right now, but this is kind of a gray black rabbit. So far, he's not really done anything, but we've got, here's Chocolate and Buttons, which y'all are familiar with. And we're hopefully gonna have some babies born here. They've been sharing a cage lately. So well, let me show you, here's our first batch of quail hatchlings. They're small birds. This one's probably the smallest of them. Here's the focus here. Beautiful birds. I like how they sound too. Then there's the ones that are a little bit bigger are actually of the jumbo. Now let me show you the kittens. As I take you to the kittens, this is currently where our quail are laying eggs and growing bigger. We had originally started with 29 when we bought them. Had a couple die before they were hatched, or before they were a few weeks old. But these are couple months old now, a few months old. And we had some coon problems in the garage right in here. And they probably ate between, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 of them. But over here is some of the kittens. They are getting big. Some of them are gonna have to find a new home here pretty soon. They are just the cutest things. Here's one that was born from one of the local feral cats, and then our mama cat named Tigger, she adopted it and has actually been nursing it. Esther loves to play with this one. They're all just hiding out. It's pretty hot, so I'm not surprised. So we actually cut down, thanks to some friends, a white oak tree here on our property. And now we've got boards, a beautiful white oak, about 5/8 inch thick, drying here in the barn. So we can actually use them on other projects. We got one massive project that's inside the house. We're gonna put the wood on the walls like shiplap. But I think I'm gonna use some of these and some of our rough cut that's still got the bark on them. We're gonna use them for a big smokehouse. So that's another project we're currently working on, but we gotta wait for this, before it goes in the house, it has to be about 15%, down to about 15 or 16% dried out. Right now it's probably about 20%, which means it's been be about October before it's ready. So this is the second day of this episode. Elizabeth's behind the camera and I'm on the tractor mower, and this was laying in the road. I think it's a rat snake. This is probably the fifth or sixth one we've caught this spring and summer.
Yep.
But we let them go. They're good for mice and other critters. But it's about 2.5 foot long. We caught one about a month ago. It was about 3.5 foot long. It was beautiful. It was just laying in the road, kind of chilling out. All right, we're gonna let it go. Don't bite. Just like that, it's gone. This is where our new pasture is gonna go, in a barn. So, just driving down, and here's a baby coon. Asleep on the driveway.
Does it look okay?
It does not look okay.
Huh? Oh, weird.
Well, that's country life. Come down the driveway and find a snake and a raccoon. All right, let's get to work. Hey girls, what are we doing out here today?
We're going to cut down black walnut trees.
Yeah.
So we have walnuts.
Yeah. So right here, down here where the sun is hitting that grass, we're gonna put a barn, and then we've just put fence posts in here, and they go that way. It's about 100 by 100. They're about, but we're gonna create individual pastures even over there. And you got your boots on.
Do we have enough pasture?
But these trees right here are black walnut, most of them. And although the wood is wonderful to mill, these trees aren't necessarily big enough to do that. The bad thing is the plant itself and the black walnuts are very toxic to horses and livestock like that. They're not bad for goats or cattle necessarily, but which means a lot of this has got to be cut out, unfortunately. So beautiful trees, especially the wood, but they can kill our animals in the future. So we're getting ready. So this is just another major update on our homestead, getting ready to cut down some trees. So we have been working really, really hard, and here is the field that we just spent probably a good hour and a half as a family together today to clean up. Man, does it look different. We'll have to rent a tree clip or chipper to get a bunch of stuff cleaned up. But some of these trees that are standing still are mulberries, like this one right here. That's a black walnut that I have to come down. There's a black walnut right there, and there's the pond down there. And I'll show you that here in just a minute. So right now I'm standing in what was actually our deer food plot. And right here is where I've been talking about. You can actually see the dirt dug up, and our telephone poles are going to make the posts for our barn. And the main part of the barn is going to be here with some small shed style pavilion open spots on the south side and on the north side. And then we'll have our first pasture here. And then right off of this spot, so the food plot is now becoming a fruit tree orchard. So we've now got we've got 1, 2, 3 pear trees planted. We got on clearance for like $6.50 a piece, which is crazy. And then we've got another apple tree. Looks like the deer are having heyday with it. We have a persimmon and another persimmon. And then right here, we actually planted a couple small chestnut trees. You could barely see them. They're just twigs right now. But this tree is going to be coming down. It just recently died. We used it for a deer stand. We now have a boat for our pond. And let me show you. This is the duck coop that we just cut out, as you saw earlier in the video. Down here is the pond. It's actually much lower because it's been so dry lately. But I wanted to show you something pretty cool. I'm not sure if you could be able to see it on the video or not, but we'll try it out. Let me get down here and I'll show you. I'm not sure if you can see them or not. But there are literally hundreds of minnows, and they are just continually getting bigger. We've been having some great family time lately, and gone fishing quite a bit. We've been bringing the fish back to stock our pond, and the fish that we had caught decided to spawn, and we now have about 150 adult fish in the pond that range from bass to rock bass to different kinds of bluegill. And then just shortly after we put them in here, they started spawning. And as I walk by the edge of the pond here, I can see all kinds. Right there is actually a spawning spot where some fish laid some eggs. There's another one. Oh, there's actually a nice good rock bass right there too. Swimming around. It's so cool. Hovering around its own nest. But the pond is down so low, it's dropped about a foot because of the lack of rain that we've had. But once it's full, the pond will be anywhere between 12 and 15 foot deep. We got some work to do. It's coming along. It's coming along. All right, so here's day number 3 of our most recent Harold Homestead episode. So we're just skipping around. We are busy out here. Behind me right here is our garden. See where the apple orchard nursery is taking effect. It's doing really, really well. You see the corn. We've got corn that's already 7 or 8 foot tall. So anyway, so let me show you the bees, kind of give you an update on how they're doing. I'm seeing a lot of honey. I'll take a frame out and show you. So this is one of the awesome things that beekeepers live for. Look at that golden honey. This one frame, oh man, it weighs probably 5 or 6 pounds. Just filled. And it's not just that side. They're actually capping the honey off on this side. Look at that. Just beautiful. You see through it. Just beautiful. Hey everybody, I wish I could show you more frames from this specific hive. I just added this box here. It's totally empty. It gives them an opportunity to build. And unfortunately it's honey bound, especially here and here. There's a lot of honey, which we're thankful for, but the bees are currently outside because they're a little mad at me for disrupting their work. And let me tell you, it is hot out here, very hot. I'm in a full suit, definitely drenched in sweat, but within an hour or so, these will all be back in the hive, or they'll be back to work. But now we get to check on this hive. So Elizabeth's out at the garden watering the vegetables, and she got to taste some of the delicious honey, but I wanted to show you. This is what a frame looks like when it's starting to be capped off. And it's like that almost like that on both sides. Stay tuned. All right, so I showed you what capped honey looks like. This is capped. There's Premise screaming. So here is capped brood. So these are actual new bees, and man, does that look good. That thing is almost 100% full. Look at the other side. Yeah, there's some new brood. Down deep, real close. I'm not sure if you could see it or not. Let's put some sunlight on it. There's little eggs that are turning into larvae, and these bees just nurse them. I have to show you something really cool. At this very moment, here is a brand new bee hatching out. Right there. So cool. All right, so we're done for the inspection for this week, and I'm very glad that I checked on them because both of them needed room. And so the great news is that this top box of this hive is almost totally full of honey. This one right here is about half full, but it's got some brood in it, so I'm not going to separate that quite yet. I'll have to get another box and some more frames. A lot of great brood in there from the queen, and they're still hanging outside, little by little going back in. This hive, and I know it doesn't look very fun and interesting looking at these boxes, but I showed you what is going on inside of both of them for the most part. The great news, this box right here for this hive is almost totally full of honey. This box alone probably weighs 15 pounds, and this one's just right behind it. It's about half full of honey. And then this frame, I was able to move a lot of the honey that was here to here, and now the queen has almost an entire box to brood in of already drawn comb, which is absolutely amazing. This is honeycomb that was in the hive that I needed to remove, and they're coming and removing the honey that was on it so they could put it back in the hive. So, but I want to show you something really interesting. On really hot days, bees are their own HVAC system. So if they sense that it's too hot in the hive, they'll do something like this underneath. This is called bearding. And these are bees that are not necessarily working right now, but it's too hot in the hive. So they'll come and they'll be outside. Look at this. A handful of bees. And what they'll do is they'll just gather right back up there until it starts cooling off. And before we know it, they'll be back in here. This also can be a sign that there's not enough room from what I've researched and experienced. So now they've got more room. Thank you for checking out this part of our long episode here on how the bees are doing. All right, I know that you're very tired of seeing me, so we're gonna go see the queen of the homestead. My wife and kids have been working very hard on this year's garden. Here is this is 3 years old. This is our asparagus row, and it's actually going to seed, which is really cool. This is the herb garden. We're actually getting it established this year. Let me go over to Elizabeth, check that out. Yeah, buddy. This corn is actually taller than me, but it's about 7 or 8 foot tall. Elizabeth? Everybody wants to see what you're working on.
Tomatoes in the pepper section. We put straw down one time and it was a thin layer, so now we're putting another layer of straw down, some of the crabgrass, and
Why do we put straw down?
to help prevent the weeds, keep the weeds from taking over and choking out the vegetables. Also helps to retain the moisture. Plants do so much better with straw.
It's like walking on a mattress
Yeah.
out here because
Cushions the soil.
the rain doesn't knock it down.
Right.
So what are we planting over there? What do we got growing?
Oh my goodness. This is kind of a mess. This layer right here in front of us, this was beneficial herbs
Okay.
and seeds, and I just kind of let it grow up because I didn't know what was going to come up. And most of it is weeds that came up. Sad, but this is
That's how it goes. We don't like to use chemicals and stuff.
right. Yeah, that's an herb right there.
Cool.
Borage, there's some dill over there. Lots of the dill came up.
We'll do some weeding when it's cloudy one day.
That's much better. So this right here is our peanut. which
We
I
planted
need
peanuts.
to take care of because they're kind of getting pushed out. Supposed to put straw around them and build them up. This is our
There's bush beans.
bush beans. That's a mess.
This is our first garden in what, 2 years?
Yeah. But this right here, we've been focusing on this recently. So I just planted some more seeds over here, which these are little tiny pumpkins. And then these over here are bushel basket gourds.
Cool.
They're massive. And then these are our cucumbers right in this area. And then the rest is just the pole beans that are getting ready to climb.
We had a friend who had these old cattle panels that were bent up, so we decided to bend them more and make them into trellises.
Yep.
And then we got sweet corn.
Yeah, so in between each row of the sweet corn, these are just kind of various types of corn that we wanted to try out. This over here is actually popcorn.
Popcorn.
And then just various types of sweet corn. Over on the other is like an Indian ornamental corn that you can ground up into like cornmeal, whatever. So on the end here, in between the corn, we've got pumpkins. And then we've got...
Because they complement each other, right?
Yeah, they grow nice together. So this is squash. It's a spaghetti squash.
Cool.
These 2 rows here have watermelon in them.
Yep, see the leaves.
And
Some juicy watermelon.
this row, I did a honeydew, which is doing much better than the cantaloupe. The cantaloupe seed, for some reason, did not come up.
And we plant like this because you could tell it's nipped. We get deer walk through here at night.
Raccoons.
Raccoons.
Tearing into it. Right here, they, for some reason, like this.
That's what raccoons do right there.
And that right there, they're tearing off the ears already.
I'm seeing some yellow crookneck gourds in there. Or squash?
So
Squash.
this right here is another squash. This is the yellow early squash.
Look at that. That's beautiful. Yummy, yummy.
And then the last row is pumpkins. These are like massive sized pumpkins.
Oh my word. Look at the size of that leaf. Here's my hand compared to that leaf. You're doing good, babe.
Thanks. It's been fun. Enjoyed it. Welcome to day 4 of our episode. So a couple days ago, Jared shared that he checked on to see if the rabbits had given birth, and they hadn't. But 2 days later, and one of them did. Chocolate had 8 babies. And they are very, very fresh, just hours born.
Let's see, baby rabbits. Oh. Let's see.
You like them?
So this is Chocolate. She's the mama. She literally just gave birth the past few hours. She's still all this fur she pulled out to make her nest for the babies. That's her best buddy, Buttons. I was just out here a couple hours ago, and there was nothing in there, so pretty cool. As always, thanks for tuning in to our Harold Homestead updates. Lisbeth. And there's the kids enjoying the pond. Still got a lot of work to do on our homestead, but God willing, it's going to be blessed. Thanks for tuning in.